Well, hello. Um, Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad to have you here. This ain't gonna be the best setup today. I couldn't get my camera to work right, and so we're gonna do with what we can. So I'm sorry if you see the little claws up there, or the clamps. I couldn't seem to find a way to get them out of the shot. So today, what we're going to talk about is an episode of Bonanza. It's one of my favorite episodes, and I'm sure if you saw it, it would be one of yours as well. And matter of fact, I would suggest you do go see it. You can see Bonanza episodes in full length on, his name is Gringo. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but it's G.J. Ringo. So instead of the I for the second letter, it's a J. And they have full, for up to season 6, they have the full episodes. You can also find the episodes on Facebook, in some of the groups. You can find the episode on YouTube, and it'll split up. The only place I've ever found the full episode is on that Gringo channel. And some of them, they just split them up for, like, you see 10 minutes and another 10 minutes. You have to watch like 2 or 3 of them in order to get the entire show. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for one. Gringo's little icon on YouTube is a star in a brown circle. So if you find him, that's a good place to go. And he don't just have Bonanza, he has other Westerns too. He has Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Wagon Train, I believe. I'm not exactly sure on that one, but he does have more than just Bonanza. But they're all Westerns. So today what we're going to talk about is an episode of Bonanza. This episode is one of well, I guess it's kind of special because it has a villain in it. A lot of times the Cartwrights are working against a moral dilemma, but in some episodes they're actually working against an actual person to, try to mess things up for them, try to take the Ponderosa, try to ruin the Ponderosa. And this episode is one of those episodes. And you would not believe who the villain is, because she comes in, and it is a she. She comes in and she's so nice, and you think that she's being so kind and everything. Turns out she was trying to ruin the Ponderosa all along. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. This is season 3, episode 9. It's called The Countess. And the Countess is played by the lovely Margaret Hayes. And her name is Linda Lawrence, or Lady Lawrence, or Countess of Chadwick. I think she's referred to all 3 in the episode. And also guest stars John Anderson as Montague, which is her late husband's business assistant, and is her business assistant now. So he goes wherever she goes. Well, it starts out, Ben and Hoss and Joe go to meet the stagecoach to pick her up in Virginia City. And as soon as she gets off the stagecoach, she kind of already is working her wiles. She tries to get in good with the boys. She gets introduced to the boys, and she's like, "Oh, you have another son that's not here, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do. He's not here because Adam." This episode has all 4 of them on the episode, but this is a Ben forward episode. Every time they did an episode, usually one of the characters would be a little bit more forward in the episode, and this is a Ben forward episode, so he's the main one in this one, but they are all 4 on it. But like she said, you're missing a son, and he was really impressed that she remembered that from so long ago. She said it's been like 20 years. Well, as the episode goes on, she is there and she's ingratiating herself with the family, and she's planning surprises with them for dinner, having afternoon tea with them. Uh, she's painting stuff and showing it to them. Meanwhile, all this stuff is going on, and she's visiting. The things that the Cartwrights have been working on are falling apart. They had contracted both for timber and ore, and both of those things are falling apart. We don't get to see the ore part. Joe takes care of that, and it's off screen. But we do get to see Hoss go to the lumber camp and see if he can handle that situation. And what the situation is that they have been convinced that the Cartwrights are broke, and they want their pay every day after the work is done, which is just, it's unheard of. And when they all find this out, like I said, they all go to the respective camps and try to make right and try to convince them that they are not broke and that they do have the money, and the Ponderosa script is as good as money any day of the week. They don't work. It doesn't work. They can't convince them. So Ben goes in and he goes to the bank to see if he can get some money. Unfortunately, the cash reserves of it have been called up, which means they're all gone. And so the guy tells him, you need to wait 2 weeks. And he's like, if I could wait 2 weeks, I wouldn't be here. So he goes back, and they're trying to figure all this out. And nobody understands what's going on and who could be doing this. Well, Adam gets back from San Francisco. He comes in, and he's wondering, what's going on, because everybody's like really down and pessimistic right now. And he's already went and got all the stuff situated for the contracts for the ore and the timber. So he comes back, and when they walk into the house, he's reintroduced to the Countess of Chadwick, or I'll just call her the Countess. And he's the one who tells us it's been almost 20 years, because he said that she went over to England to get married. And he said, oh, that's been about, since I was 11, So that's one times that we kind of get an idea of how old these boys are. So with that being said, it seems like Adam is between 30 and 31 years old, which was really nice to get an age for him. But I have completely forgot to tell you this about the Countess. The thing is why she knows Ben is because her and Ben were engaged to be married back in New Orleans before he met and married little Joe's mom. That's why she's here. She's here to rekindle the past. And they walk down memory lane. But as soon as Adam gets there, he says it towards a painting that she did, and she gave them as a gift. He says something is different, but you can kind of tell he knows that something is different. Something else is going on. And I always think that's really good because he's always kind of suspicious of people. And I think in this episode you kind of see that. Well, anyway, it goes on, and finally they figure out what's going on. Adam is the one, he's like, it's obviously part of a big plan. Somebody's orchestrated this, and they tell Ben that they think it's the Countess. And he doesn't believe them at first. Then he goes to town to see who bought a piece of land right next to the Ponderosa, and it has Montague's name on it, her business associate. So he knows now that Linda, or the Countess, is behind the whole thing. So he goes, and him and Montague, they kind of, they fight. It's a good fight scene. It's one of those scenes that you can tell where the body doubles come in, but it's very endearing, because you just love these episodes when they do have fights and stuff. And he's like, Montague, tell me everything. So Montague does, and they cut to back at the house. And they're going to have a dinner. At least that's what they think. So she's getting everything all ready. She's fussing with flowers and stuff like that. And Ben comes down, and finally the boys come down. They all look very nice. You know how nice they look when they dress up. And they just pretend like everything is normal. And then Ben says, how about a drink before dinner? So he, gets a drink, and the boys get them a drink. Hoss serves them a drink. She doesn't take one. So he goes over and he says to Linda Lawrence, Countess of Chadwick, the most conniving, the most charming and conniving witch that I've ever known. And that just sets everything off. He has to repeat it one time, but it sets everything off. She goes bananas. She starts screaming and trying to get the boys on her side, saying, "It's a lie, it's a lie." I try to tell him it's a lie. And obviously the boys know about it too. And then she starts yelling at Ben, and she's like saying, "I try to help the Ponderosa," and he's like, help it by wrecking it." So he's like, "What you're trying to do is force me into a marriage." And he tells her everybody that everything is okay because the bank came through, or the lenders of the bank came through, and they're going to give Ben the money that he needs. And that makes her even madder. She said, "Money, I'll show you what money can do." And she said, "I'll wreck you if it's the last thing I do." And she just keeps yelling and going on, and she breaks a glass, and then she's like beating on Ben, like just like this on him, and she's screaming, "Clodhopper, farmer." And so Montague comes down and trying to help her out to be like, "Calm down." She smacks him. Then she picks up a fire poker, and she goes to the painting over there, the one that Adam saw when he got home, the new one in the house, and she takes the fire poker and she destroys it. And she's screaming the entire time that, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you." Well, all that happens and everything calms down. Nothing's right for her, but it calms down. And she's like, "Montague, let's pack our things." And the boys tell their dad they're so sorry that it ended up like this, and he just kind of smiles. It's a really good episode. Like I said, one of my favorites, and it had a female villain, which I thought was great. A lot of times you don't see that, especially on Western shows, because it was definitely more male-forward shows. And that's not just Bonanza, and not just Westerns. It was kind of that way in the whole industry. I mean, you have these beautiful ladies that are actresses and stuff, and they don't get the same, screen time or the same respect that their male counterparts get. So it was very nice to see a lady villain. And this episode it's a really good episode. It's a great episode that points to how they come together and they try to overcome things, and that they're always trying to fight for the Ponderosa, and how much work it is to keep the Ponderosa going, because we don't see that all the time in the show. Sometimes we just see them doing their individual things, and it doesn't always involve the ranch, but this involved the ranch, and it involved things that were going on, and that was really nice. Another thing about this episode that I thought was so funny is that they could have had a bloopers reel, because there are several times throughout the episode that you can tell that one actor is waiting for another actor to say his line. And it's very obvious that it is. So it's kind of comical. And like I said, the fight scene, you can tell when the stunt devils come in and when they're not there. It's very obvious. And there are also like some props that disappear, like Adam comes in with his hat, and his hat just disappears into nowhere by the time he gets over to the desk. It's just all those little comical things that happen, and it's just a great episode because it has those things. It's very enduring because you get to see them be a family and come together, and it's just a great episode. And I want to very much suggest that you go watch it. It's probably the episode that I've seen the most, that I keep rewatching over and over again. This is probably the episode that is that. It's probably this one and another episode called The Courtship. I've watched those so many times. I would hate to know the number of times that I have watched The Countess or the Courtship, because it would be outrageous, I'm sure. It's just one of the great episodes, and I just love that they're fighting a villain, and it's not just about a moral dilemma in it. So if you're looking for a great episode, it's a great one. Again, it's season 3, episode 9, called The Countess. So go look for that on YouTube. You can go, if you're in a group on Facebook, a lot of times the groups will post the videos. So wherever you can find it, I would suggest getting it. And check out that, if you're a big fan of Westerns, check out that Gringo channel. Like I said, it's a J instead of an I in the Gringo part. So it's GRJNGO, I think is how you spell it. And it's a SAR, a sheriff's badge, in a brown circle. So check them out, because it's not just Bonanza they have these other Westerns. And I think that you'll really like their channel because they're full length. They're not cut up into little segments. So go there and check them out. But I'm glad you came here today. That's all I have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you will tell a friend, you'll come back, you'll like, share, and subscribe, and keep coming back to watch the episodes. And I would love to have you back here again, and thank you for letting me, have some of your time today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Oh, I'm sorry, one thing. Rewind. I am going to try to be more consistent with this channel.